Okay, so step one of anything is going to be to open up Photoshop. My Windows at home is a little bit different than your guys's. So you're going to go to your Windows menu, go to your All Programs. You're going to find Photoshop in here. I'm just going to open mine up with my shortcut. So once it's all opened, you're going to need a piece of paper to start with, right? We have Photoshop open, but we have no artboard. So to get to our artboard, we're going to go File, New. And then we're going to go to Print. And it's going to give us all of our standard size pieces of paper that we use. We're going to go with letter. You can either have it in portrait or landscape mode. So that's just up or sideways. We'll stick with portrait right now and hit create. So here's our piece of paper. Now at this point, you can kind of do whatever the heck you want, but today what we're going to look at is pasting pictures, removing backgrounds, and using the text tool. Maybe we'll play around with some layer styles as well. So go to Google and let's look up a picture. Okay, so when you're copying and pasting from the internet, I don't want you to take these little pictures, okay? These are thumbnails and they're not the full resolution. So what you can actually do is you can go to Tools, Size, and you can actually select to filter out all the low resolution pictures. So low resolution means there's not very many squares of color, and when you start playing around with them on Photoshop, you can't really change the size much because they'll become pixelated. So let's find a picture. I want to remove the background, so we'll find one. Well, this will be interesting. Okay, so I click the picture and it gives me this version. This one is going to have a higher resolution than the thumbnail. So I'm going to right click and hit copy image. I'm going to shrink Google, click back into Photoshop so it knows you're on Photoshop. You always want to have your cursor selected. That's that top tool, so that you're not accidentally like making boxes and stuff. If you have these marching ants, this selection tool, and you don't want it anymore, you're going back to your cursor and you're like, what the heck? I want that gone. You're just going to hit Control D. On a Mac, it's Command D. That means deselect. Okay, so now we have our cursor. I keep clicking and I shouldn't. And I'm going to hit Control V. That is paste. So now if you look on the right hand side here, some of these might look different on everybody's Photoshop layout. This is just your shortcuts to the different tools you're using. But the layer menu here is really important. So you can see now that I have layer 1 over top of my background layer. So layer 1 is this picture. If I pasted another image, let's find another one quick, because this is often frustrating for people to learn because it doesn't quite make sense at first. The fact that you are working in layers. Okay, Control V for paste. Okay, so now I have 3 layers: my background, my layer 1, and my layer 2. Now, for example, if I wanted to grab layer 1, I can't when I'm on layer 2. So you have 2 options. You can either right click over that image, or you can just go back to your layer menu like that. So now I have these 2 pictures. I'm going to just play with one for now. So I'm going to hide this guy. I'm just going to click the eyeball, and that's going to hide the layer. It's still there. It's not deleted. I just can't see it. Go to layer 1. Okay, so now you're going to hold Alt on your keyboard and wheel in. This is going to let you zoom in. Okay, so there's a couple ways to remove a background. 3 main ones that we use. There is the magnetic lasso tool. So if I press and hold that 3rd tool down, I can select that. Now if I zoom in, this is going to find the borders for me, which is pretty nice. I usually do it in small chunks. Once I have this selection, I'm going to hit delete. Now you can kind of see I've still got some yellow here, so not great right now. Maybe we'll try the color picker. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to hit step backwards to go back. Control Z undoes one step, but if you want to go back a couple steps, you have to go edit step backwards. So Control D to deselect. Now we're going to try the color picker method of removing the background, because the background color, we might pick up some of the tones in his face, but it's pretty different from the rest, so this might work better. So we're going to go to Select, color range, and you're going to make sure you're on the right layer too. Remember, Photoshop only wants to do stuff with one layer at a time. So I'm going to hold Shift and start clicking the colors in the background. And all that white, you can see that it's picking. So like I said, it did pick up some of those tones in his face. You can play around with the settings here so that we are just getting that. So I want just that white selected, so I'm going to hit OK. So now we can kind of see it's selecting all of this. I can hit E for eraser, right click to make it bigger. Oh, mine's not 100%. And I can start erasing. Now, because it only picked up certain colors, I'm still getting that edge. See? And then I would have to go in and manually erase that anyways. So, not ideal. Not really going to work for us this time. So I'm going to go backwards. Okay, Control D. So we can use the magic wand as well. We'll see what this does, because we can refine the edge of the magic wand. So the fourth tool down, you're going to press and hold it. Then there's the magic wand tool. Click that. So this guy's going to let you select chunks of color. So when I selected that, see, it took all this orangey brown color. Now, if I wanted to fix the edges a little bit more, you could hit select and mask. And this is going to show you, it's kind of moving in and out, contrast, crisper edges. You can also go in more, go out, and hit OK. Then at this point, you're going to hit delete. So not the greatest for hair because you lose all that texture. Usually the color selection or the color range is good for hair. So we'd probably want to play around with that a little bit more. But we'll use the wand again. Quick, easy. OK. Control D to deselect. Control D, okay. And then V for cursor, and then I can zoom out. Okay, so now I have no background on this picture. So I want to add some text. So I'm going to hit T for text. I can either use the shortcut on my keyboard, or I can just click on that. And I'm going to type something. Maybe not spell it right. Okay, so you might panic, what the heck is going on? I swear I just typed something. If you look up here, your color, if it's the same color as your background, you're obviously not going to see it, okay? So this is where you can play around with all your settings the same way you would in Microsoft Word or in Google Docs. Let's see if I have the Harry Potter font at home. Perfect. Okay, so now it's done. I can hit Control T to transform, to change the size. Once it's the size that I want, I'm going to hit Enter. Keep in mind when I'm making something bigger and smaller, I want to hold Shift so that it stays proportionate and I don't end up with really skinny text or really short and fat text. It's super important when you're changing the size of people as well, because it's really obvious when you screw up their proportions. Okay, so I want this behind him. So let's check out my layers. All I'm going to do is grab that guy and pop him underneath. And now look. It's behind him, okay? Because the layers of Photoshop document lets you play around with that. So that's kind of nice. Okay, now let's add a drop shadow. So that's in layer styles. So all you're going to need to do is come to your layer here and double click. Don't double click over the words because then it's going to make you want to change the name of the layer, but just to the right of it. So if I move this over, you can kind of see there's a whole bunch of layers. So let's play around with drop shadow. I don't want to just click the box because then my options won't come here. I want to click the word. Then I get all my options that come along with this layer style. So this shadow looks awful. You can manually move it around too, or play around with this. I don't know why I have such a weird setting right now. Okay, so once it's the way you like it, hit OK. So now it's all attached as one layer and it looks lovely. So try that out. Maybe put your name up here and then a whole bunch of things that you like. I don't know. Because you can paste as many pictures as you want, right? Oh, see, I'm going to make sure I'm on that layer. I can use W for wand, remove the background, except I just moved some of his face. So this one we might want to use the magnetic lasso tool so that it doesn't take away. Oop, that's not good. Took some of that away. So I can hit E for eraser and just erase the good stuff. Control D. Try again. And I like to just do it in small chunks so that if it screws up, I'm not wasting too much time. But yeah, so that is our basic cutting and pasting in Photoshop using our layers, adding some text, and playing around with the layer styles. You can also delete layers if you want. It is great. Now to save stuff, if you've created something that you really love, you're going to go File, Save. I'm going to suggest that you throw it onto your desktop. Okay, so you're going to name it, and you're going to hit Save. This will pop up, you're going to hit OK. Now at this point, once it's on your desktop, we're going to go to our Google Drive. Okay, so I'm going to take my file that I've just popped onto my desktop and click and drag it into your Google Drive. This is so if you work on a different computer next class, you still have access. I would definitely recommend making a folder on your Google Drive so it doesn't end up like chaotic. But once it says upload one complete, then you are golden and you can log out. Huzzah!